finish up talking about the Constitution. I mentioned a few of these things earlier in the chapter. We're going into a little bit more detail about them. So there is a part of the Constitution called the preamble. And the prefix pre means before. So the preamble is basically like the preview of the Constitution. It tells you what the Constitution is about, and it's similar to like when you go to the movies and you see a trailer for a new movie. It gives you an idea what that movie is going to be about. The preamble gives you an idea what the Constitution is trying to accomplish. Articles 1 through 3 created separation of powers, and this is the three branches of our government: the legislative, executive, and judicial. But we'll go into more detail about those right now. So Article 1 created the legislative branch, and the legislative branch is Congress. They are the ones that make the laws. Now, a lot of people think the president makes the laws, but he doesn't. He just signs them once they get to his desk. The legislative branch, which is the House and the Senate, they are the ones that actually make the laws. So Congress is broken up into two pieces: the House of Representatives and the Senate. We talked about them earlier because there was a disagreement when they were writing the Constitution about how much representatives they would get. In the House of Representatives, it's based on the state's population, and in the Senate, each state gets 2, regardless of population. The next one is the executive branch, and the executive branch is the president. So if you think about someone being the CEO of a company, its chief executive officer, they run the company. The executive branch's job is to run the federal government or the state or the local government, depending. Their job is to carry out the laws and to deal with other countries. The president is also the head of the armed forces. The president can, if a law gets to his desk and he doesn't like, he can veto it. That's one of the checks and balances we mentioned earlier. So the president has lots of responsibilities. A lot of people think he has more power than he actually does. We'll talk about what he can actually do when we get to the chapter just about the executive branch. Next one is the judicial branch. We talked about them the other day when we watched that video about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and how they are going to have to replace her as a Supreme Court justice. The judicial branch sets up the highest court in the country, which is the Supreme Court. And today the Supreme Court has 8 judges, and it typically has 9. So they'll be looking to replace her soon with Donald Trump's nominee. The Supreme Court has the final say on all appeal cases. And an appeal is a second look at a court case. So if a court case has been contested back and forth with different decisions, the Supreme Court has the final say, and whatever the Supreme Court decides, all the other courts and states are supposed to follow. Article 4 says something about state governments, and what that means is all states have to honor states' laws. And what that means is, like, let's say I have my driver's license in Pennsylvania, and then I drive to work to Ohio every day. I still have a driver's license that's valid. I don't have to go and get a brand new license. Another way that works is me and my wife got married in Ohio, but now we live in Pennsylvania. Our marriage still carries over, and we're still married in Pennsylvania. So states have to honor other states' laws and governments. So the Constitution was written to be the basic guidelines and outlines of the United States government, and they knew it was going to be good, but they also knew it was going to need some changes. So Article 5 set up the process for making changes to the Constitution. And a change to the Constitution is an amendment. Now, getting the Constitution changed is not easy. They didn't want it to be changed willy-nilly all the time. They knew it had to be a difficult and arduous process because they didn't want the changes to be frivolous. So the writers of the Constitution did not make it easy to amend. For the Constitution to get changed, it has to be passed by 2/3 of Congress, which is a pretty lofty ask, getting Congress to agree on something with 2/3. So 67 out of 100 senators must vote for it, and 290 out of 435 representatives must vote for it. So you need both the House and the Senate on board. After that, 3/4 or 38 out of the 50 states must also vote in favor of it. So that is a pretty hard thing to do, to get that many people on board. If you look at the previous elections, we haven't had that percentage of people agree on anything in a long time. So the last part we're going to talk about, the Constitution is the supreme law. So what that means is no laws are ever allowed to violate the Constitution. So if we look at those amendments we talked about, especially the first 10 amendments, no laws are ever allowed to violate or take away those freedoms. So some examples of unconstitutional laws would be if the states decided to raise the voting age to 21 because the 26th Amendment lowered it down to 18, a state can't just decide to raise it to a higher number. You can't set up a dictatorship because we have a democracy. And Congress can't pass a law to end the presidency because the presidency is in part of the Constitution. That would violate the Constitution. The Constitution had to be ratified or passed by the states for it to become a law. We talked about that in Chapter 3. Out of the 13 colonies, 9 of the 13 had to approve it before it would become official. Okay, guys. So the Constitution was written a long time ago, and it's gone through many changes, and it'll probably go through many more changes in our lifetime. But we're going to wrap this up. We're going to work on the worksheet today for Chapter 4. It should say Chapter 4 Review Worksheet. Let's get started.